this is what is happening. It's being neutralized. And when you understand this, then you go, okay, I get that because I've played with magnets before. I understand that opposites attract. That's a law. That's a law of physics. Opposites attract. So with lymphocytes or agranulocytes, they're releasing the negative polarity or the electron. You know, they're releasing that as a defense to reduce what? Increased what? Question is where is it coming from? Well, it could come from your thoughts. It could come from it can come from your words. It can come from your deeds. It can come from a lot of things. There are contributing factors, and there's not one single contributing factor. Could I say that again? There's not one. You can't direct it to anything specific because there's various contributing factors. And the contributing factors could be the air you're breathing. It could be because you smoke. That produces an increase of H positive or these radicals. Okay, they're the real radicals that need to be neutralized and then eliminated. And what are the cells that do that? Well, they're not the primary cells. They're a backup system. That's another thing I'd like to educate you on, is that white cells, particularly agranulocytes, are backups.
Help, picture's frozen. Help, the voice is off.
Vicky?
Please wait for a while. Dr. Robert Young has some internet connectivity issue. Please wait for a while. He will come back in a while.
Thank you.
I know. Yeah.
Please be patient, everybody. He will log back in momentarily. Thank you.
So after this talk, you may think twice about a booster. And it is a shame that they're mandating in New York that children get the vaccine. And I think Robert is back. Robert, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, that should be great.
Okay. So, okay, how's that? Is that better?
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Okay, so there's various systems in the body, and one of the systems which very few people are aware of is called the alkaline buffering system. How many of you all have heard of the alkaline buffering system and the organ and glands that are associated with that? Most people don't even know it. Taught it. I was fortunate enough to go to a school that was progressive, and we're talking in the 80s, early 90s, in Germany. My professor, Marie Blecher, who was a protege of Gunther Anderlin, who was a pleomorphic doctor and scientist. I learned about a lot of things that aren't taught in conventional biology, conventional medicine. And so I was very fortunate to have Marie Blecher because she was the one that taught me in microscopy. She was the one that introduced me. And I mean, we used optical, used dark field, we used phase contrast, different modalities. We used different modalities to be able to look at things that are very, very small. So I'm very familiar with white blood cells. I've looked at them for 40 years. And I can honestly tell you that white blood cells are not responsible for our immunity. They're responsible to pick up and take out the garbage. Okay. There is a total system within our body, and there's within just the last few years, these systems are being recognized. One of them, or the largest organ of the human body, is called the interstitium, which contains a fluid of interstitial fluid. That interstitial is the largest body of water in the body that surrounds every cell in the human body. So if you've got 70 trillion cells, they're not sitting as an organ, they're sitting in water as an organ. So, and when a cell functions, it produces a waste product, i.e. lactic or uric acid, and those acids get dumped into the interstitium organ. And from there, it has to be either neutralized, or it has to be, the first thing is to remove it through the lymphatic system and out through the pores of the skin or through urination. That's, if you want to be healthy, you have to pee your way to health. But that's why drinking fluids and clean fluids, it becomes very, very, very critical. And that's talked about by many people. But as far as educated on these systems, outside to actually learn this. So the alkaline buffering system is actually controlled by the stomach. The stomach is the major organ for alkalinity. It produces a compound known as sodium bicarbonate, and it gets its ingredients from the blood. 90% of carbon dioxide is not exhaled. Carbon dioxide is absorbed by the stomach to produce sodium bicarbonate. CO2 is a major ingredient in the production of sodium bicarbonate. It also is a major ingredient in the production of the waste product of the production of sodium bicarbonate, and that is called hydrochloric acid. And this is where the Germans and my work actually part. So even though I appreciate the introduction of the interstitial fluids, which at that time in Germany, they call it the colloidal connective tissue of the Schad. But this particular organ, which is the largest organ, is responsible for managing and maintaining the cleanliness of the internal environment. So when you feel pain, that pain is the interstitial fluid pushing waste products out into the connective tissue. Where do you feel it? You feel it in the muscle. And the expression of that is, the symptom is a cramp, right? A Charlie horse. We've all experienced it. What's that telling you? It's telling you that the interstitium is full of waste and it can't get rid of it, or it's unable to push it out for various reasons. That's what it deposits it into the connective tissue, i.e. the fat and the muscle. And this is where, obesity is the main problem in America, because people don't understand that people aren't overweight, they're over acid. And the body's not removing its own waste product, and that's why people stink. That's why they smell, body odor. It's coming out through the pores of the skin, and you have these orifices in the skin. There's 3,750 orifices per square inch that eliminate waste. So if it's not being eliminated, the stomach, okay, and this happens in to all of us, when we over-exercise, when we overeat, when we don't rest, we feel these waste products in various symptomologies. And so the stomach is the organ to reduce that acidity in order for you not to go into a coma. And that's why, some professionals will say, well, the body manages this. Well, if it was managing it really well, you'd live forever, right? Because what is the longevity of a human? It's infinite. Why? Because what it's made up of is eternal. It's eternal. It can't be created, nor can it be destroyed. From dust you are, and from dust you will return. It's the organization that changes. And that really comes back to this whole idea that nothing ever dies. It only changes its form or function based upon the environment. So an environmental, notice this beautiful green background, it's all about environment and managing the cleanliness of not only the external, but the internal environment of our human body. And any symptomology is not disease, but an expression of the cleanliness from within and the ability of the body to neutralize and to eliminate that. Do you understand? So what does the stomach have to do with it? It's on the front line, guys. It's on the front line to do what? To do. Some people say, well, digest food. Wrong. It doesn't digest anything. He says, what's the purpose of the hydrochloric acid? There's no purpose. It's a poison. It has a pH of 1.5 to 3. It'll kill you. So where does it go? It goes into the crypts of the stomach. I don't know. Have you ever looked at these anatomical pictures before? Maybe I could just show you, the crevasses or the pits of the stomach. Let's see if I can picture this just to show you, so we have a visual. Okay, so look at this. Can you see that? I don't know if that's an affirmative or not, but you see this dark area? That dark area is a crevasse. And guess what goes there? The hydrochloric acid. And what is being expressed? You see these lighter areas of the stomach? Guess what they're secreting? Do you want to take it? They're not secreting hydrochloric acid. They're secreting sodium bicarbonate. Why would they do that? Because the purpose of the stomach is to alkalize our food, not to digest our food. How do we know that? Well, doing a little experiment. Why don't you eat a piece of corn? Don't chew it, swallow it. Or if you don't want to do a corn, let's do something harder. How about an almond? Eat 5 or 6 almonds, and then check your eliminations from the other end. Those almonds will be perfect. You can eat, because the stomach doesn't break it down. The small intestine doesn't break it down, because the purpose of the small intestine is not to digest food. That's why this craziness of using probiotics or taking enzymes is crazy. People feel better is because they're eating food that has properly or blended properly or juiced properly, and it becomes a constipation in the small intestine. Which people say, well, we need bacteria there. The biomicro. That's a load of crock. I mean, the ideal pH of the small intestine is free of any bacteria at a pH of 8.4, just like the ocean. And the main purpose of the stomach is not to digest, but to alkalize the foods. It is the major organ. If you're having immunity problems or any imbalances, it's because the stomach's inability to manage and maintain your highly acidic lifestyle, or where that contributing factor is. And then when you're talking about the small environment for digestion, its main purpose is to biologically transform what? Into what? Into stem cells. It's not the bone marrow. Bone marrow is when you're starving to death. That's when you go on one of those when you go on those feasts and you water feasts, you literally destroy your body on a fast. Because when you're fasting, the body doesn't go, oh, I'm going to stop producing blood. The body will, if it doesn't have food in a liquid state at a pH at 8.4, and it's not producing, that's where it's produced. I'll give you a picture where blood is actually produced, if you're not familiar with this. This is where it's produced, right here. This is a scanning electron microscopy of this, you see. And these are the appendages here. And these appendages are called the root system, or the microvilli of the small intestine. And its main purpose is that when food liquid alkaline food into blood. Blood is made in the core. Have you ever heard of core blood? This is where it's made. And it doesn't stop in the womb. It continues even after you've left the womb. So biology has to be totally rewritten. Totally. The descriptions of the functionality of these organs and glands is totally, upside down. And whether you're looking at it from what perspective, convention or alternative, the narratives are completely wrong. That's why I'm so popular. I'm being facetious. Because when I was over in China doing a lecture at Tsinghua University, you know what they said about me? In fact, it was really interesting because I was actually teaching the oncologists at Tsinghua University that were researching cancer. And on my right were those who were educated in China in a holistic way. And the others were educated at Harvard, at Cambridge, at Oxford. And after my lecture, the ones educated in the West got up and left. The ones in the right stayed and said, you know, Dr. Young, you just validated our father's teachings of thousands of years. And then the professor that invited me there says, you know, Dr. Young, you're not Eastern medicine, you're not Western medicine. You're something unique, and you have to be very, very careful. And at the time, I hadn't spent much time in jail, hadn't arrested, you know, multiple times, which has been the case now, because, you know, the bottom line is you're going to break the rice bowl of the West and you're going to break the rice bowl of the East. And you need to be very, very careful. What do you mean break the rice bowl? I never heard of that statement. Well, in China, if you break somebody's rice bowl, you've actually, you know, basically taken away something from them that's very dear or it's very precious, or it's very valuable. And if that's broken, you can't repair it. And when Neil Solomon said, Dr. Young's on a threshold of a new biology that will change the medical and biology worlds, I had no idea of the power or the knowledge that I was actually teaching and how it would affect the world and why it's important today. So the stomach does not digest food. The small intestine doesn't do it. The main purpose of the stomach is to alkalize the food. And its also main purpose is to maintain alkalinity of the blood and of the interstitial fluid. And the interstitial fluid pH needs to be at a pH of 8.4. Blood is at 7.365. And so when we understand the biochemistry of our body fluids and how to manage those and how to keep them clean and what food does this and what liquids do this and what lifestyles do that, help to support that, this is what's important. This is what's important. And so here again, my purpose is not to treat, it's to educate. Now, what you do with this information is up to you. So if you're on digestive enzymes, that's your choice. I'm just saying it doesn't fit into what's really going on. Understand how important the pH is to a swimming pool. If you understand the importance of pH of the ocean, if you understand the pH aquarium and how that has to be managed on a daily basis, why is it illogical? Why is it unscientific to manage and maintain the alkaline design of the internal fluids of the body and to understand that functionality, good, bad, or indifferent, is in relationship to that particular environment? Is that a concept that's too difficult? Or maybe I should put it into a question. If you are looking at the fish and you pull it out of its alkaline pH at 8.4, which is the same as the interstitial fluids of the human body, what's going to happen to the fish in fresh water at a pH of 7.365? What will happen to the ocean fish at 7.365? It will die. That's exactly what happens to our body cells. Our body cells are identical to the steam and alkalinity of the ocean. Did you know that? Because what I just said is the most important health information that you could ever receive. And the reason for that, if you know how to manage that, and I'm not going to teach you how to do that, you're going to have to teach yourself. And there's a lot of resources to do that. Here again, I'm just giving you a slight introduction on this. What you do with your body, because it is your body, it is your life, and it is your choice. Well, wait a minute. That was 2 years ago. Apparently, it's not the case now. It's not your body. It's not your life. And I don't think it's your choice anymore. I don't want to get political here. I'm just saying that these are the problems. So when we're when we're looking when we're looking at the small intestine, when we're looking at the large intestine in relationship to what is going on today, we have to say, is there a way to monitor this? And there is. There is a way to monitor this. And just wanted to share with you those particular thoughts is if you manage and support the alkaline design of the stomach, which uses ingredients that it borrows from the blood: salt, water, and carbon dioxide. Salt, water, carbon dioxide makes sodium bicarbonate with a waste product, which is totally unusable by the body, of hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is a poison. And the more you produce it, the more the symptoms appear. The number one condition which is caused by this in the world, and the number two, are upset stomachs, indigestion, headaches. There's no value in that, no value. So this idea of enzymes is very curious. By the way, enzymes in Greek means poison, means ferment. So as you think that possibly that you now have, well, to this, I would say you only have one instrument in the human body to break down food, and that's your teeth. So I encourage people to educate themselves and empower themselves with knowledge, and to become a farmer, to become their own doctor. But that's my feeling. Those are my feelings. I'm not giving any medical advice. You want medical advice? Go to your doctor. If you want to use medical drugs, that's your choice. I would never discourage that if that's what you want to do. But if you want to improve the quality and quantity of your life, I would suggest
Pictures off, sounds off.
Sodium bicarbonate is baking soda. Yes. That's what it is. So right. I know a cup of baking soda. Yeah, well, it's good.
Help.
Please be patient. He will log back in again. Thank you.
That sounds. Right. Right. That doesn't get that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
He can't hear you speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Vicky, you there?
yes.
Yeah, yes, I'm here.
Where did Robert Young go?
I'm right here.
He's back. He's back now.
Okay. I don't see his picture.
There you
There we
go.
go. There we go.
Yeah, you still all there?
Yes.
Okay. Hang on just 1 minute. Just trying to get back here. Let's see if I can show you a picture. It's probably one of the most dramatic pictures in hematology of what they call a Heinz body. And I know I was going to talk to you a little bit about the ingredients of the of the current inoculation, but I don't know. I think this basic information, if you're not familiar with my work, is probably even more important. Can you see this picture right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what healthy blood looks like? Let's see if I can show you what healthy blood looks like, because that's a good comparison. This is what healthy blood looks like. It's even in color, even in shape, even in size. Do you see the space between these? These are called vascular fluids. If this was a body cell, if these were body cells, these would be called intercellular fluids, and the fluid inside the cell is called intercellular. This is what happens to cells using a scanning electron microscope, is they start giving birth to appendages. These appendages, when they break off, get into the blood, and they do have genetic material because they originate from the cell membrane. And there's a trillion diversities of these, depending on what the environment is and what is being poisoned by her. But this is what happens to cells. Let me show you what it looks like on the red blood cell. It's called the corona effect, or it's called the protein spiking effect. You've probably heard that. Here's the corona effect, where it's actually giving birth, or actually you can see the appendages or the membrane pushing out here. And of course, this is caused by various contributing factors. And these contributing factors could be electromagnetic, it could be air pollution, water pollution, but there's a compromise here that's affecting these cells. And it's affecting, here you see the corona effect. You see the spiking coming out, and these break off. This is what the PCR tests are measuring. They're measuring your own biological, particulates that are now in the plasma. It's me. I'm just talking for myself. I ask myself, how can I trust a test to define something that has never been purified and isolated and related to any specific, disease or discomfort or symptomology? When I've been looking at phenomenon taking place for the last 40 years. So if you look at this very closely, these fiber monomers coming from the blood cells, these fibrin particulates coming off, do get into the blood plasma and can cause congestion. But here it is, looking at it using it. So, from here, which is using phase contrast optical microscopy, and here you can see the nanomagnification of this. So you can actually see these infectious conditions, not in, but outfectious, being born within the cell. And I've educated people for years on this. The germs are born in us and from us. Okay. Now you can agree with that or disagree, but I honestly trust what Antoine Béchamp was saying, that the germ is nothing, that the terrain is everything. And when we have an environment like this, we have healthy cells. And an environment that's not healthy, then we have cells that have lost their ability to repel each other. And so now, how would you ever know that you're in pathological coagulation? Because if you go and ask your doctor, could you look at my blood? They're going to go, what? We don't look at blood. Hematologists, they send it off to a lab too. If you go to the hospital, they do the same thing. So it's very, very difficult, to actually see what your blood looks like. But if you ask your doctor, could you do a D-dimer test? A D-dimer test is what tests these fragments. It tests these fragments that are coming off this clot. So if you see this clot and you see these fibrin proteins that are coagulating the blood, forming clots, the breakdown product of that is called D-dimer, which indicates a condition, disseminated intravascular coagulation or some sort of pathology. Well, your doctor is trained, at least the lab is trained, to be able to test for this. So you could determine whether or not you're in pathological blood coagulation, where the blood is clotting, especially if you're having symptomologies. And you have to go to your medical doctor to do this. It's called D-dimer. Dimer are these fragments taking off from a protein called fibrin monomer mesh that's formed a clot that's holding the blood together. So this can change, and some suggestions for you on that. For me, what I do is I manage and maintain the alkaline design of my body fluids. And the way that I do it, I'm not telling you what to do. The way I do it is I test the pH of the urine morning and night, and anytime I urinate, to maintain the delicate pH balance of the urine at 8.4 or higher. Not 7.2, not 6, not 5. This is what I do. And the reason I do it because I realize that if my cells, my fish, metaphor for cells, want to be in a healthy state, I have to maintain the alkaline design of the interstitial fluids. Okay, the blood will take care of itself. You can ask your doctor about that. Oh, I don't need to test the pH of the blood. It's going to stay at 7.65. But if you're in a trauma, yeah, we test it. To determine whether you're in compensated acidosis or decompensated acidosis, and those are medical terms. But one thing that isn't common to know, and you can listen to an interview that I did on this, because here again, I'm an educator. That's what a doctor is. If you translate it, go look it up in the Harvard dictionary. Doctor, it's educator. That's the original a teacher. That's what I am as a teacher, and that's what I would like to be known as someone who's empowering others with knowledge. So the problem being attributed to air pollution, attributed to food pollution, water pollution, these are contributing factors, whether it's being contributed to magnetic fields that is causing this so-called corona effect or spike protein, leading to pathological blood coagulation, leading to the symptoms of whatever you want to call it. Okay. I mean, it seems to change every year, but whatever you want to call it, I mean, the symptoms are real. People are going, well, there must be something to this. The symptoms are real. And the symptoms are real. The question is, what is the phenomenon? What is the cause and effect relationship? Is it bacterial? Is it viral? Is it something that is it air pollution? What is the contributing factor that's leading to that symptomology? And this is where, I kind of split from all trained generally, and I go down on a very lonely road.
I'm just going to interrupt for a second. So in 3 minutes in this room live, it's going to be Ravi Ratan, who's going to be talking about chakras, numbers, and planets. And in the other room live, in Kip's Bay room, which you can go through to the bottom of the breakout room, it's going to be Gorazny and Prajunan talking about breakthrough in anti-aging, natural cartilage regeneration, and wrinkle removal. And so we only have a couple of minutes to wrap it up. And thank you.
All right. But where I kind of go down a different road, it's a little road, is that you must be the change you want to see. In other words, you must be the difference. you have to look at yourself and not blame phantom germ by whatever name it's called. You have to take responsibility for what you.
Help, can't hear, can't see.
He's frozen again. Hold on.
So again, in this room is Ravi Ratan, Chakras, Numbers, and Planets. And we want to thank Dr. Young. You go to phmiracle.com. And in the Kips Bay room, if you want to go to the Kips Bay room, go to breakout rooms at the bottom and just join the Kips Bay room. You'll see Grass Nepajunin. They're both live at the Newlife Expo here in New York. I know it's great to see it virtual. I mean, if you can't get to New York, but if you're in New York, you should be live. Then you can actually meet the speakers, talk with the speakers, and see all the different exhibitors at the Hotel New Yorker. So both rooms, speakers are live, and the virtual people will be able to see them also. And there's Austin.
Is he gonna get to finish?
Well, I mean, Robert Young is finished for the time being. There's
What
another
came
speaker
out?
coming and starting.
So I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So as Gandhi said, you must be the change you want to see. And what I say is you must be the cure you want to see. And especially in this particular environment, at this particular time, that becomes even more important, is taking personal responsibility for lifestyle choices, and owning it and making the necessary changes to live a life that you're designed to live. And that's healthy and happy.
Hi, Robert. Sorry, I have to cut you off. Ravi is here and ready to speak.
Oh, you can cut me off. That's fine.
Okay.
Nice to see you, thank you.
Can we put him in another room, Mark? Mark Becker? Can we move him to room 3? Breakout room 3?
Okay, you can move that. You can move to room 3. So
Dr. Young is still there. We can ask him some questions.
Okay. You can move me to room 3.
Right. Everybody, if you want to move to room 3, go to the bottom of your screen. It says more. Click
So
on
you're
it.
good to go? The video will present, yes.
Okay. Can anybody tell me why chakras are there? Why are the chakras there?
Energy fields, spiritual.
No? Chakras are there, they are representing the energy of your vital organs and glands. You know, we depict 7 chakras in the torso and the head. That's the part of the body housing your vital organs and glands. And chakras are the ones representing the energy